Hello everybody, my name is Zool and welcome to the Skyrim Mod Showcase. In today's episode, we are going to be taking a look at the Photoreal ENB. This is the performance version of this ENB, standard caveats apply, you'll see them on the screen. Click on the screen if you would like to see the introduction video, all that kind of thing. One thing that's a little bit different about this video is we are going to be using Climates of Tamriel, and we are going to be using the Realistic Lighting Overhaul as they are listed as required mods, not recommended. I don't install mods if they're like recommended, but I do generally install the required mods. Anyway, the first scene is our standard fog test. Now, one of my problems with this ENB is how the fog looks, although this could be because this scene is weather from before Climates of Tamriel. I did run through this scene and another one later, and I ran through it for several hours, and I didn't quite replicate the weird way it looks. However, I'm going to leave that there anyway. Overall, the ENB does look good other than a couple of fog shots. It really softens things, so instead of making them bold, contrasting, that kind of thing, it makes them look more realistic by softening the scene, softening the sun, that kind of thing. It makes the scenes look gorgeous, and it does it without impacting your frames very much. I was at a solid 60 the entire time. This is the second scene where we had some interesting weather effects, although this one certainly wasn't affected as much, so I'm not quite sure about that being there. You may have noticed that this scene looks a little bit strange, and I actually skipped over one of our standard comparison shots. That's simply because that last shot was also affected by the Climates of Tamriel switch, a bit of a problem, but otherwise it's fine. In the interiors, we got the Realistic Lighting Overhaul, which I'm a big fan of, and I love the way it works with this ENB. It makes things super dark, and I'm a big fan of dark dungeons, and it deals with overexposure really well. I'm glad it deals with this scene because a couple of them that we've covered have not. When taking a look at our dock test here with the guard, we can see the difference with the darker nights, and we can also see how more impactful the fire from torches are. They are not as vivid as they appear in some of the other ENBs, but they still look good. Taking a look at our snowstorm one, this looks good. First of all, things get a lot darker in this scene. It's actually quite strange. It is slightly later, about half an hour later than the original scene, so I do have to put that out there, but it darkens things up while making the sky look great. Magical lights look more vivid, and the college looks more realistic, I guess is the best way for me to describe it. It's not like it looks like magical lights are realistic in and themselves, but the building looks real and the magical light pops so much more. This next scene here looks a little bit interesting in the way that the fog hangs over it, but I think it makes it look very foreboding, very dark. One thing again in this ENB is that fog hangs just a little bit denser, closer to things. The way that I've adjusted the brightness in here doesn't really do this scene justice, so once again I would recommend you try out the mod with this more than ever because of the way Climates of Tamriel interacts with the weather, and I'm comparing it from direct vanilla to Climates of Tamriel plus an ENB, which makes some of these shots a little hard. In our nighttime moonshot test here, we can see that the nights are definitely darker, and that the sky is still the same, only the colors are more vibrant, which again is a more realistic take to things. It doesn't make the sky too bright. Our flames test show that fires look much more interesting. They definitely have a really good blazing red color to them, an orangey color. They don't have that kind of cold white looking fire. They really look like something that would warm you up. As always, our standard shot here, one of the things to note is the way that the sky colors are changed. It really reduces the orange, which is another kind of more fantasy-esque thing to have a lot of the oranges and stuff in the mist, and it makes things look kind of neutral, which again is something that I would expect from a realistic ENB. Once again, there's not really a lot for me to say about these ENB videos. I talk so I can try and explain what my thoughts of the things are, but for the most part, the footage really does all the justice to the scenes. As we can see here, in probably one of my favorite scenes, this ENB looks gorgeous. It reminds me kind of the noir ENB, only with color, you know? I can really imagine a creepy swamp monster out there looking Oh, and of course we have to take a look at our dungeon shadows. So as you can see here, the shadows from the ENB are bold. These are sharp, crisp shadows, and they are very, very, very dark. Big fan of the way it makes it look, especially with the realistic lighting overhaul, which enhances the way that the lights work, where the placeables are, all that kind of stuff. It looks fantastic. So good. Overall, I'm going to give this ENB a 4.5 out of 5. I guess I should probably start from the beginning here. The FPS loss is around 5 frames, although I was at a solid 60 the entire time unless things were really crazy. If you're in a dungeon, you need a torch, and I'm going to call it realism-ish, just because there's a couple of scenes where the realism didn't quite work. The fog, for example, although if we take a look back at this scene here that you see in the background, well, the scene that you just did see in the background with the mountains, that's what it looks like with Climates of Tamriel after you've reset the weather and started a new game and all that kind of stuff. So it might just have been the way that my saves were interacting with that mod, so I apologize if it's there. If the mod author sees this and says like, yo, you did this wrong, I will happily figure out a way to update the video in the future. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. If you'd like to see more Skyrim mod videos, more ENBs, more KOTOR videos, game reviews, all that kind of fun stuff. I also do videos on KOTOR modding, Fallout modding, I do tutorials, and I take requests, that kind of stuff. Consider subscribing, leave a comment down below with your requests. I have been Zool. I have no idea how to end these videos, so I usually just ramble forever. So I'm just going to basically say this. Bye. What the hell was that?